Tov. Today's Daf Yomi is Bava Metzia Daf Nun. Bava Metzia 50. We're going to start Mem Tes Amabez 2/3 of the way down, right after the Mishnah. And the Daf Yomi is dedicated for Yeshua, for Am Yisrael, Hatzalah, for the Shvuyim, Shmira, for the Chayolim. So we have established in our Mishnah that Onah is 1/6 according to the Chachamim and 1/3 according to Rabbi Tarfon. So the Gemara first analyzes this. Itmar Rav Amar Shtus Mekach Shaninu. Rav says when we say that the price of Ono is price fraud, that you overcharged, and so therefore you have to return that price, which is 1/6. If it's more than 1/6, the sale is canceled. If it's less than 1/6, that the overcharge is waived. So Rav says this 1/6 is Mekach Shaninu. It's the 1/6 of the price of the product. And the Gemara is going to explain what that means. Shmuel says shtus mo shanino. Shmuel says it's 1/6 of the price of the money. So meaning say both the price of the product or the price of the money. So the Gemara explains Shavei shisa v'chamisha. Let's say something was worth 6 and you paid 1/5, so that's 1/6. Or Shavei shisa v'shiva, or it was worth 6 and you paid 7. Kolyamo pligi debasar mekach hazlinan. Everybody would say that we follow the price of the product in the circumstance of Onahavi, and it's considered Onah, price fraud. Ki pligi, where they argue, Shave Chamisha Beshisa, where the price was 5 and you paid 6, meaning it's 1/6 the price of the product, but it's more than 1/6 the price of the product, but it's 1/6 of the money. Or we're saying Shave Shiva Beshisa, or it's 7 and you paid 6. So again, it's 1/6 the price of the money, but it's less than 1/6 the price of the product. So Shmuel Damar Basar Mosasli, according to Shmuel, says we also follow the money. Idi Onah, then both cases will be Onah. But according to Rav, Damar Basar Mekach Haslina, Rav says we follow the price of the product. Shaveh Chamisha B'Shisa, that if it's worth 5 and you pay 6, Pito Mekach Havi, then we're going to cancel the sale because the price fraud was over 6. It was 1/5. And Shavi Shiva B'Shisa, if it's 7 and you pay 6, Mechile it's less than 6, so it's waived. Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel also says, Kiamina Mechilo Bito Mekach, and Shmuel says, when we say that it's waived, if it's and the sale is canceled, that's Hecha Deleka Shtus Mishneit Stadim, that it's not a 6th on either side of Hecha Shtus Mitzad Echad. If it's worth 6 from one side, either the product or the money, or no, Havi, then we're going to say it's considered this price fraud. So the Gemara wants to prove, like Shmuel from our Mishnah, because our Mishnah says, oh no, Dalad Kesef Me'esr Arba Kesef. Oh no, it's 4 out of 24 of a seller. That's a Shtus L'Mekach, 1/6 of the price of the purchase product. Now, my love, so what are we talking about here? What's this case a reference to? Isn't it a reference to the Zabin Shavei Esrim Be'esrin Va'arba, that he paid something that was worth 20 and he paid for it 24? Ushma Mina, so basically that's like the case of 5 and 6. Shma Mina Shtus Mos Namishan. You know, it's like Shmuel that we also see 1/6 of the money. Where says no, that doesn't have to be the case. It could be we're talking about the Zabin. Whoa, the Zabin Shavi Esrim Va'arba. No, it could be talking about a case where he paid 20, something that was worth 24, and he paid 20. Gemara says, no, there's a problem with that approach. Why Minasana in that case, where it's worth 24 and he paid 20? Who's the one who was defrauded? The mocher, the seller. But Ema Sefer, but the next clause says, how long can you return it? You have enough time to claim your fraud, and not the time it takes to show it to the merchant or to the relative. That's only the purchaser, but the seller can always go back. So we see from here, we're talking not about the seller in this case of the Mishnah, but about the purchaser. And so therefore, it can't be that that's the scenario where it was worth 24 and you paid 20, because there the seller is being defrauded. Ella must be the Zabin Shavi Esrim Va'arba, something was worth 24, and he paid Be'esrim V'Tamanya, and he paid 28. So basically, we paid 1/6 more than the price of the product. So the Gemara says, Tanan. So again, the Gemara wants to try and bring a proof like Shmuel, so that it's either the price of the product or the price of the money. Tanan, Hora Rabbi Tarfon B'Wood, that Rabbi Tarfon taught in Wood, Ona Shmona Kesef Miyesrim V'Arba Kesef. That Ona is 8 pieces of silver from 24 pieces of silver for a seller. Shloshel Mekach, 1/3 the price of the purchase. So Mylav, aren't we talking about here? The Zabin Shave Shitzrei. Gemara is going to basically attempt the same type of proof. Are we taking here that the Zabin Shave Shitzrei V'Esr V'Arba, that he bought something that was worth 16 for 24? Shma Mina Shlishmos. And we see from here it's the 1/3 of the money, like Shmuel. Shlishmo is Nami Shanino, that we also look 1/3 of the money. Where it says, no, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a case that Zavan Shavi Esrim Va'arba B'Shitzer. He bought something that was 24 for 16. So the Gemara says, no, you can't say that because Minasana, in that case, who's the one who's being defrauded? The B'mochar, the seller, but it doesn't fit in with the context of our Mishnah. Just like we said 2 minutes ago, Ema Seif, Amaram Kol Yom Mutar Achsor, Amaram Nachman Loshan Keach. Who can go back? Only the purchaser of a mochar or olam choser, but the seller can always go back. And the reasoning is because the seller's not walking around showing people the product because he doesn't have it. So the purchaser has a statute of limitations, but the seller can always go back. So must be says that what's the case? So same answer. It must be we're talking about a case where he bought something for 32, it was worth 24. So it's not necessarily a proof for Shmuel from our Mishnah. But the Gemara says, Tanya Kavasi the Shmuel, we have a brisa like Shmuel. It says in the brisa, Misha, it says in the Mishnah, which we're going to, it says in the brisa, but also says in our Mishnah that we're going to come to, but here we quote a brisa, Misha Huto of Yado al Yona, that the one who was defrauded, he has the upper hand. Kate said, Macharo Shava Hey Bevav. Let's say he sold him something that was worth 5 and he sold it to him for 6, which is basically only, that's fraud according to, that's the fraud of the money, but the fraud of the product is going to be greater than the 6. Minasane, then the lokeach, the purchaser, is the one who's defrauded. Yad lokeach al yona. There, the purchaser has the upper hand. Ratza omer teli maosi o teli masha onisani. If he wants to, he could say, "Give me back my money," or "Give me back." Give me back what I was defrauded. Macharo shava sheish bechamisha. Let's say he sold him something 6 worth 5. Minasana mocher. Then the seller is the one who's defrauded, and yad mocher al yona. Then the seller's hand has the upper hand. Ratza omer tainli meklio tainli masha onisani. He says, "You can give me back my ona, or give me back what, give me back my purchase." So we see from here that this is a proof because this is the way Shmuel described it. And so therefore that's going to be a proof for Shmuel. Means in the first case where he sold him something that was worth 5 for 6, that's exactly the case where Rav and Shmuel argue. That Rav says that the wholesale is canceled because he was defrauded by more than a 6, where according to Shmuel, it says the law of Onah, because from the perspective of the money, it's 1/6. And so since the Brisa says this is a case of Anah, it rules it like Shmuel. So now we come up to the Daf Nun. The Gemara says, Ibayu pachos mishtus l'Rabbanan. So when the Rabbanan say that 1/6 is considered Onah, do we say la'alter having mechila? But if it's less than 1/6, it's waived, and so therefore the sale goes on. And it's a done deal. But do we say immediately it's waived and it's a done deal? Or does this person still have this like grace period that the purchaser has to show it to his relative or to his merchant and then come back and complain and thereby get his money back? And if we want to say that he has the time to show it to his relative or to his merchant, well, if that's the case, then what's the distinction if it's 1/6 or less than 1/6? He has the right to go back home and complain and therefore get his money back. Gemara says, no, there is a difference. Because if it's 1/6, yadu al yona. Because if it's 1/6, he has the upper hand. Ratza choser, ratza kona. That if he wants to, he can undo the deal, or if he wants to, he could say, no, it's a valid deal, but I get my money back. I get the extra money that I was defrauded, the 1/6. So if it's less than 1/6, kana umachzir ona. Then, but if it's less than 1/6, and then we're going to say he has the right to purchase it and machzir ona, and then we're going to say he has to return to him the fraud. So meaning to say, if it is, the distinction is if it's 1/6, then he has the right to either cancel the sale or not. Whereas Ratzachozer, Ratzakono, Machzerona, and he returns the fraud. But if it's less than 1/6, he can't cancel the sale, but he can maybe get the money back. So that will be the distinction, the money that he was defrauded, but he doesn't have the right to cancel the sale. So how would we understand this? Tashma. So let's go back to the case of our Mishnah, because what our Mishnah say? That the Tagre wood, these merchants of wood, the Rabbi Tarfon had come out with the position that Ona is not 1/6, but 1/3. So the Gemara says that let's go back to, but the Tagre wood were very happy. The merchants of wood were at first very happy when they heard that Ona was 1/3, because they said, "Oh, we have a bigger margin for fraud." But then they heard that Rabbi Tarfon said, "But you have all day to complain about it and undo the deal." So then the merchant said, "Well, we don't like Rabbi Tarfon because the Chachamim only gave the person who purchased it up until the time that they showed it to his friend or to his relative." So now the Gemara says, let's bring a proof to answer our question. That merchants of wood return to the position of the rabbis. Savrua, so the Bnei Yeshiva, the students who were studying this at first assumed that pachos mishloshel Rabbi Tarfon, that if it's less than 1/3 for Rabbi Tarfon, means to say that there's no ona. Pachos mishloshel Rabbanan dami. It's exactly the same law as less than 1/6 according to the rabbis. Now, and so therefore it's the same halacha. Now, iamris bishlama pachos mishloshel Rabbanan. If you want to say that less than 1/6 according to the rabbis is birchtei sheyira tagar ulakrovo, that you still have the time to object the amount of time it takes you to show it to the merchants or to the relatives, or Rabbi Tarfon, and Rabbi Tarfon is going to give you kol hayom luris. Rabbi Tarfon is going to say that if it's less than the shirona, you have the whole day. Mishum hachi chazru. That's why they went back and were upset, because according to the Rabbi Tarfon, they would have. According to Rabbi Tarfon, they would have the whole day to go back and object, whereas according to the Rabbanan, it's only the time to show it to the merchant or the relatives. Eli Amritz, Pachos Mishtushel Rabbanan, Alter Avim Mechila. But if you're going to say that according to the rabbis, if it's less than 1/6, they immediately waive their rights for Rabbi Tarfon. And according to Rabbi Tarfon, Nami Alter Avim Mechila, according to Rabbi Tarfon, if it's less than 1/3, they immediately waive their rights. Then am I chazru? And why would they be upset? Why would they go back? Because Rabbi Tarfon, when he gives you the length of time, the whole day, that's 1/3, and they would just be careful not to overcharge by 1/3, and then everything would be waived immediately. So it turns out that Rabbi Tarfon is still much stronger than the Rabbanan. With Rabbi Tarfon is much better. So the Rabbanan kamashu or no, Rabbi Tarfon av mechil, because without which the rabbis considered ona, i.e., between up until 1/3, Rabbi Tarfon say is immediately waived. So it doesn't disprove that that's not waived right away. So the Gemara says, no, mi savras pachas mishloshel Rabbi Tarfon can pachas mishloshel Rabbanan. I mean, that was our mistake. We can't assume that Rabbi Tarfon says that less than 1/3, like of Rabbi Tarfon, is like less than 1/6 of the Rabbanan. Mishtus, so we have to say as follows. Well, mishtus v'ad shlosh Rabbi Tarfon kishtush atzmo Rabbanan dami. From 1/3 to 1/6 of Rabbi Tarfon is like exactly 1/6 of the Rabbanan. Look at Rashi. Rashi says from 1/6 until 1/3 of Rabbi Tarfon, that's the ona of 1/6 itself of Rabbanan. And so therefore, meaning to say that whatever the Rabbanan say in that circumstance, Rabbi Tarfon says. So he's only arguing with the Chachamim about whether or not the sale is canceled and he has the upper hand. According to the Rabbanan, both of them could go back. So meaning to say that from 1/6 to 1/3, the person who was defrauded has the ability to cancel the sale or to claim the fraud until he shows it to the merchants. But the only dispute with the Chachamim is only in a circumstance where it's according to their words, more than 1/6 the sale is canceled. And according to Rabbi Tarfon's words, this is ona, that only the one who's defrauded can go back. But also, according to Rabbi Tarfon, it's not waived. So the Gemara says, so if that's the case, why were they so happy initially when Rabbi Tarfon says that the ona is 1/3? Because if it's less than 6, and by 6, if Rabbi Tarfon holds like the Chachamim, and so therefore and if that's the case, why were they so happy if it was more than 6? If that was their argument, so then we should say Tivsha to Bito Mekach or Rabbanim. We could say that if the sale was canceled, that this idea of how you cancel a sale according to Rabbanim, Olam Choser, you could always go back to Kivin Damu Rabbi Tarfon Have Ona Samchu, and so therefore the reason why they were happy would only be because once Rabbi Tarfon said that from the 1/6 until 1/3, the law is not like the Chachamim, that if the sale is canceled, that Bittul Mekach can go back forever. So therefore, we're going to say it's Onah, so Samchu. And so Ki Amar Lahu Kol Hayom. And so therefore, we understand why they regretted it, because Rabbi Tarfon says that it's the whole day. And so we see from here that they're losing this idea of 1/6 exactly, because according to the Chachamim, if they didn't claim this within the time that to show to the Tagar, therefore we're going to waive the Onah. Whereas according to Rabbi Tarfon, they could still claim this Onah until the end of the day. So therefore, they went back and ruled like the Chachamim. So the Gemara says, the Isak Adaitach, the Bito Mekach Rabbanan, because if you want to say that when the rabbis cancel the sale, it's only the time it takes to show it to the merchant, to the relative, but my Samchu, then why were they initially happy? Their dispute is only about the amount of time between 1/6 and 1/3, and both according to the Chachamim and according to Rabbi Tarfon, because according to Chachamim, this is the Bittul Mekach, both of them could cancel, and both according to Rabbi Tarfon, this is Onah, and only the one who's defrauded can go back. He can only come back until he shows it to the merchant. After that, it's waived. And they wouldn't have gained anything from Rabbi Tarfon. So therefore, the Gemara says, no. They were rejoicing about the 1/6 itself. The Rabbi Tarfon Mechil, according to Rabbi Tarfon, 1/6 itself is waived, or Rabbanan Onah. And Rabbanan would consider that Onah. So that's the exact pressure point. So the Gemara says, Ibailo Bittul Mekach or Rabbanan Olam Choser Odoma B'Chtei Shiyar Tagar Krovo. So the let's say if it's more than 1/6, and if it's more than 1/6, the Gemara's question is, which we say that the sale is canceled, according to the Rabbanan, is that also only until the time that you show it to the merchant or to the relative, or do you have forever to go back? So the Rabbanan who say that if it's more than 1/6, it's canceled, is there a limitation on that? Is that limitation on the time it takes to show it to the merchant or a friend, or only the time, or it's forever? The imtim solom or b'chtei shiyar tagar krovo. And if you want to say it's the time it takes to show it to a relative or friend, but after that you can't cancel it. If that's the case, ma'ika bein shtus liyeser al shtus. If that's the case, what's the difference between 1/6 and more than 1/6? Because both of them, you could cancel the sale until the time he shows it. You can show it to the merchant, even though we've already given the answer to this question. The Gemara now is assuming we haven't answered it yet. So the Gemara says, so the distinction is, it's ironic, but if it's 1/6, only the purchaser or the one who's defrauded can go back. But if it's more than a 6, we don't even view it as a sale. And so it's possible that both of them would be able to go back. So what would be the distinction here? Do we say, the question is, do we view it if it's more than 1/6? Do we view it as a time limit for the Bittul Mekach? Do they have ability to cancel it? So the Gemara says, Tashma is trying to answer this question. It says, Chazru divrei Chachamim. It says in the Mishnah that after Rabbi Tarfon said to the merchants of wood that you have the whole day to go back, they went back to follow the position of the Chachamim. Now, if you want to say that when the rabbis say you could cancel it, it's only b'chtei shiro tagar krovo. It's only the amount of time it takes to show it to a relative or friend. Or Rabbi Tarfon kol hayom. And Rabbi Tarfon says the whole day. Mishum hachi. Well, that's why. Well, that's why they were upset, because at first they were happy because they have this benefit of 1/6 exactly. According to Chamim, he could cancel the one who's defrauded could cancel the sale, and according to Rabbi Tarfon, it's immediately waived. But now, when they heard that according to Rabbi Tarfon, you have the whole day, they were upset because they're losing according to his position. The ona more than a 6, because according to the Chachamim, since the time passed to show it to the merchant, it was waived. According to Rabbi Tarfon, they have more time. But if you say the Rabbanan can always go back, why did they go back? Rabbi Tarfon is better because Rabbi Tarfon puts a limit on it, whereas the Chachamim is not limited. Why Rabbi Tarfon is better? To Kamashul Nakol Ayom V'Sulo. Rabbi Tarfon says you only have the whole day and no more. So the Gemara says Bitom Mekach Shliach. No, this idea of canceling the sale, overcharging by so much, so now you can cancel the sale. It's very uncommon. People don't want to cancel the sale, and because it's a very unusual situation, and so therefore they were more concerned about the extra 1/6. Amar Rava Hilchasa. So how do we pass? And Rava says the law is pachos mishtios. If it's less than 1/6, nikne mekach, then we're going to say the sale it's a valid sale right away, and he can't cancel the sale at all. But yoser al shtos bitol mekach. But if it's more than 1/6, the sale is canceled. But let's say it is shtus. So if it's less than 1/6, the sale is valid. He waived his rights. And that's it. If it's more than 6, the sale is canceled. If it's a shtus, but if it's exactly 1/6, then we're going to say kana umachzir ona. Then if it's exactly 1/6, he's acquired and he has to return the ona, the fraud. In both cases, both the claim of 1/6 and the claim of the sale being canceled, he has the amount of time to show it to his relative or his friend. But after that, he can't get back his 1/6 and he can't cancel the sale. And Tanya Kavasa de Rava, and we have a brisa that supports Rava because we said, Ona pachos mishtus, that if the Ona is less than 1/6, nikne mekach, it's immediately bought. Yes, or al shtus. If it's more than 1/6, batal mekach, then the sale is canceled. But if it's a shtus, but if it's a 6, kana ona, then right away it is kana umachzir ona. Then he acquires it, but he has to return the ona. That's the position of Rabbi Nassan. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda Nasi Omer, he says yada mocher al yona. He says no, the hand of the seller is always that. In a case where the seller is defrauded, then he has the upper hand, and he could say Rodza Omer lo teli mikli o teli masha anisani. He says that if the seller was defrauded, he could say, give me back the amount that I was defrauded, or give me back or cancel the sale. In both cases, it's limited by the amount of time it takes him to show it to the relative or to the merchant, but he doesn't have forever. So we're going to continue now, but let me stop the recording here. So